Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, we're going to be talking about chronic pain and chronic diseases, as I am joined by best-selling author, reality personality, and president of the International Pain Foundation, Barby Ingle. Barby uses her blog, the media, and her platform to educate people on pain topics, and she is also an e-patient advocate. So we're going to be talking to her and about the multiple diseases that she lives with and what got her started in this process. Barby, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Curtis. I'm so excited to be here to share my story and hopefully to share some resources and tips for your listeners to have better daily living if they have a disease that causes pain.
Well, why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, you did a really good job on the intro. So I am a patient. I am also a professional who helps teach medical professionals how to do their jobs better based on the patient perspective and journey. And I also have published 9 books. All of them are related to health, whether that be physical, mental, or spiritual. And I've done reality television, and I have my hand in a whole bunch of different projects because life is short and you never know when God will call you home. So I wanted to be sure to do as much as I could when I could, so that when I need to take breaks, I can do that too.
Well, you talked about how you live with multiple chronic diseases. Tell us about some of them and describe how they affect your life on a daily basis.
Sure. I live with multiple diseases, including reflex sympathetic dystrophy. That's the worst one. Reflex is anything in your body that is automatic, kind of goes haywire. So you're swallowing, your gastrointestinal system, your vascular system kind of goes haywire. Sympathetic is your nervous system. And if that feels, when that is not working correctly, it feels like someone put lighter fluid in your veins and caught you on fire. It's very difficult to put out. And dystrophy is loss of muscle and bone. And then I have some secondary conditions such as dystonia, where my body locks up and it becomes difficult to move. I also have problems with proprioception, balance, and coordination. I've gone through chronic vomiting, gastroparesis, where my stomach is not functioning correctly, so the food just sits in there for hours to days. Intestinal ischemia, cardiac ischemia, where my intestines and my heart aren't getting the proper blood flow to function. I also have migralepsy, which is a type of epilepsy that is triggered by seizure. It triggers seizures, but it's triggered by migraines, as well as some particular patterns of flashing lights. And I also have been through breast cancer. I have a genetic form of breast cancer that's connected to a specific gene. And I also have valley fever, which is a fungal infection that you can get if you're living in or visiting the Southwest of the United States or Northern Mexico. And it's a fungus that's in the dirt that gets kicked up into the air. And if you breathe it in, it can attach to your lungs and wreak havoc on your body, especially your breathing. And I'm dealing with that as well. So I am challenged by a lot of health conditions. They affect me in every aspect of my living, from finances to relationships to what I'm able to eat, the medications I have to take every day, really all physical activity, mental, every aspect of my life is affected. So it's quite a challenge.
Well, you're also a reality TV personality, so you definitely don't let these illnesses stop you. So tell us about your reality TV show and the name of it and what it's about.
Yes, I've been on a few reality shows. The one that's most known. It was on TLC called Extreme Time Cheaters. And it wasn't called Extreme Time Cheaters when I first signed up to be a part of the show. It was actually called Extreme Time Savers. And they focused on my life and all the changes that I had to make to my life because I live with chronic illnesses. And they featured my husband and myself. And we shot 8 episodes, although in the United States, they've only aired one of those episodes, and they've aired it 21 times so far. The same thing over and over again. So I don't know if they'll ever air the other episodes here in the US, but I do hear from people in other countries that have gotten to see some of the other episodes and their, their take on what they saw. But it was all about living life to the fullest, despite the challenges that you live with. And that's what my focus was on the show. And I did it because it's a lot of fun. And it also was a way to teach people about my life, although they take it to the extreme in the show. It's a way to teach people about some of the challenges that I live with in dealing with chronic pain and these other health conditions, and have some fun at the same time. Like you said, keep living. And then I've also been on Brainstormers on the Weather Channel. And then I did 9 seasons of the Ken and Barbie show, which again was all about our lives, but it was more of a talk show versus a competition reality show or that type of thing. And then I got to do some fun projects like the Newlywed Game, and I was on the Doctors and the Talk, and have done a whole bunch of smaller projects as well. And I'm right now preparing to film for a documentary that will be out in 2023 that's based on my life and healthcare and that type of thing.
Sounds like you got a lot going on.
Thank you. I do. I'm blessed by God abundantly. Even though I have a lot of challenges, He has given me a lot of blessings.
Absolutely. Speaking of healthcare, give us some tips, because healthcare is very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Give us some tips on how people can save money on their healthcare bills.
Well, this is one of the areas I really like to talk about, because I've had over $1 million in medical bills, yet I'm not in debt from the medical bills, and I'm not rich either. So I had to find ways to overcome the medical bills and still be able to obtain the medical care that I needed. A lot of times, especially patients that are what we call thick case files like myself, we feel bad about maintaining a medical bill that we owe the doctor, and sometimes get overwhelmed. I've had bills that have shown up, like one hospital bill was $18,000, another hospital bill was $114,000. It becomes quite overwhelming. There's some things that I found that we can do as patients and or caregivers, if you're taking care of somebody, to help lower those bills. The first one is negotiate ahead of time when possible. So if you're one of the people who don't have insurance, you can still get health care, and you can negotiate the pricing ahead of time, as well as a payment plan. And a lot of times when I've been in that situation, or even if I've had health insurance and the bill is still too high to totally take care of in a good amount of time, they will see that I'm making an attempt by paying even $5 or $10 a month to pay those bills off. And after an amount of time, they say, hey, let's settle this. And they might offer me pennies on the dollar to that bill to pay the bill outright. And I've been lucky that every time I've asked for that, and or a charity case, if I've had a hospital stay that was quite burdensome, I now know I can ask for a charity case, and it usually is a 1-page form with a letter that you write up stating your case as to why you'd like the hospital to write off your bill. And so I've had some help with that, as well as from some local churches. And the biggest thing is when the doctor likes to send their bill before the insurance even processes it. So if there's a typo on that bill, when they submit it to the insurance company, the insurance doesn't pay or negotiate the rate as they normally would. And according to JCO, which regulates our hospital systems, 8 out of 10 medical bills has a mistake. So it could be something as simple as a misspelling to your name, date of birth, date of service, or a coding billing mistake, and where they put your diagnosis and or the treatments that you received. So now, instead of just paying that bill straight out, I wait until I get my explanation of benefits. If everything looks correct from the insurance company and the amount owed is something that I can handle, I will go ahead and pay it. If I can't pay it, I will submit a letter with that first payment saying, I recognize that this is my bill and I will be making payments over time on this specific date each month. And if it is a case where the doctor's office is charging me, say, $1,000, and my insurance has negotiated it and it says I only owe $100, I will either send the full amount or send my payment plan, but I will also send a copy of that explanation of benefits and circle it and say, this is my patient responsibility, so this is all you can expect from me. And usually after that, it's paid off or negotiated, or they fix their system wherever the mistake is. And I either don't receive another bill or have paid it off based on that patient responsibility. And as a thick case file patient, oftentimes I will, within the first couple of months of the year, pay off my, have so much in medical bills that the out-of-pocket maximum is reached for the year. And many times the explanation of benefits will say my portion due is $0. So I will just send a copy of that to the doctor's office to say my portion is $0. Please update your records. So because once you send that payment, when their bill arrives before the explanation of benefits, it's really difficult to get that money back. So it's definitely something that patients can do and negotiate, always negotiate. Remember, no is the beginning of a negotiation. So keep going and keep trying and do what you can do in between to make sure that the medical bill is satisfied. And if they do satisfy it and write a portion off, make sure you get that in writing and keep that letter so that if a collections company or anybody calls you, you have that to present and show I have proof that they said this was satisfied.
Talk about some of the tools that people can use to have properly and timely access to healthcare.
Sure. So as you know, Curtis, I have lived with chronic pain conditions for over 20 years now. So I've developed quite a few tools. One of the ones that I find my doctors like the most is something I created called a one-pager or one sheet. And in the media, we use those to let people know about us and what we're going to be talking about. But with your health doctor, you're basically giving them a one-pager that talks about your medications that you're on, if you need any refills, any problems or challenges you've had in between your appointments. So the last time they saw you to this time, any questions you've come up with during the month so that you don't forget to ask them. And then when you're filling out that paperwork, when you go to a new doctor's appointment, they always say, list your surgeries. And they ask that every time. And after you see so many doctors, you're like, oh, I have too many procedures and surgeries to list. So I have included that in very small print at the bottom of my one pager. And when I go to fill out those forms at the doctor's office, I say, see attached, instead of starting to write them all out, because I could never write them all out by the time the nurse calls me back for the exam. So just writing see attached is definitely a time saver for me. But the thing that my doctors like about it most is when I am on my way to an emergency visit at the hospital, I can call my doctor, let him or her know that I'm on my way to the hospital, and they can use that one pager to update the hospital on the most recent information about me. And my doctors love it for that reason, and have started doing something similar with their other patients that are complicated cases, so that they have that information right there ready to go, and they don't have to go back through their notes to try to figure out what is most current and appropriate for that patient when they're on their way into the hospital. So that's one of the biggest things. But also as a patient, there's 4 things that they can do. One is researching and understanding, gaining knowledge about their condition. And the more you know and understand, the more you can teach other people. And number 2 would be set the expectation. When you can set the expectation with your family and friends, as well as your medical team, as to what you're facing, what you're going through, what your daily challenges are, the better you do at setting that expectation, the better care you'll receive, not just from your providers, but from your family and friends, because you want to be the most active in society that you can, so that you are being a human doer instead of a human being. The next area would be paying attention to your daily health. And that includes making sure that you're following your doctor's orders, that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing with medications, taking your medications at the same time, and really paying attention to your own personal health. And one of the biggest things in that area, besides, don't smoke, don't drink, or drink to a minimum with alcohol, but also drinking water. And most people don't realize how important water is to our daily living, and even being 10 to 20% dehydrated can have a big effect on your health and how you get through the toughest challenges when it comes to chronic and long-term conditions. And then the 4th area is creating an oasis and having the things around you, whether you're laying in bed or sitting on the couch or taking a car ride, having the things around you that you need as tools. So in the car, for instance, I have an extra pillow and blanket. I have an arm pillow and a neck pillow. I bring tools in the car that I may need, as well as a copy of my medical records on a USB thumb drive. And when I'm in the house, I have my area next to the bed and next to my coffee table side table in the living room, where I make sure that I have my water, my tools that I need for the day, and things that can help me get through everything I need to get through the day. So those are the real 4 areas of what patients can do to better their daily living. And it really comes down to communicating with other people, knowing that right language. For me, when I first was trying to get diagnosed with RSD, it's a rare disease, and there's over 7,000 rare diseases. So no one doctor is going to know all the diseases and conditions that a patient lives with. And even if they're a specialist, say a neurologist, to know about some diseases that affect you neurologically, they may focus in on one specific disease like MS, and not focus in on arachnoiditis or something else that affects your nervous system. So it's really important to get a team around you of medical providers that are able to help you and know and understand the condition you live with, so that you don't just have that help at home, but you get the guidance from the medical professionals as you're going through whatever you're facing when it comes to health. So I know that I just threw a lot out there.
Oh no,
but
that was great information.
yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Let's switch over real quick and talk about your college head coaching career. Tell us what
Yes.
that was like, and how did you guys do?
Yeah, so it was a dream come true. I was living my best life, or I thought I was. And I started coaching. I started my own cheer and dance training company, teaching junior high and high school students. And the next year after that, I was offered the head coaching position at Washington State University. I was the first coach that they ever hired for cheerleading and dance. And I was in charge of the whole entire spirit program. So I had about 50 to 56 athletes every year, including the cheerleaders, the dancers, the pep team. Some years we had a junior varsity team, as well as our mascot program. And I was there for 8 years, and I built the program up from the first year we went and competed. We got 16th nationally. And then my final year that we competed, we were in the top 5. We missed second place by like 0.04. So it was pretty close to the top 5. in scoring, and one bobble brought us from second place to fifth place. But I was really excited. I was also that year named one of the top 100 coaches in the country and one of the top 5 choreographers in the country. So great honors to have. And it was something I trained for my whole life. I started cheerleading and dance and gymnastics when I was 4 years old. I remember my dad taking me to a soccer game for the Diplomats, which was the Washington Diplomats. And these women were down on the field and they were cheering and leading the crowd and doing an amazing job. You know, I was 4 years old, so I don't really know how good my judging skills were. All I knew was that's what I want to do the rest of my life. I want to be one of those people. I also had a learning disability. So my therapist that was trying to help me through the learning disability challenges suggested to my parents that they put me in all of these physical activities because it would help with my hand-eye coordination and it would help my brain learn how to learn because I was learning differently than the other students in my classes. And so learning the choreography and that type of thing helped me. But then as I became a coach, I got to choreograph myself and started having dreams where I was choreographing in my sleep. And I would wake up and write down these routines and come in and be like, got a new routine for you. It really was all consuming and everything I had hoped and dreamed for. And I worked hard for it, but it became a reality. And I held on to it probably longer than I should because I ended up getting sick with RSD while I was coaching. And I still tried to hold on to coaching anyways. And slowly over time, doctors, kind of helped me get to the point where I knew I couldn't return back to coaching physically. But at that level, it's definitely a physical job. You can't just say, all right, go out and do your thing. You have to actually know what you're doing and sometimes show the technique so that the student athletes can be safe. So it definitely is something I love. I got to coach at a Sun Bowl and 2 Rose Bowls. Not very many people on earth have had that experience, especially with the Rose Bowl. So it's something I take great pride in and an accomplishment no one can ever take away from me. Although this present day, I could not do what I did back then. It was something very special that I will always hold on to.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some of the treatment options for those suffering with chronic pain and chronic illness.
Yeah, there's hundreds of options available. And a lot of times, either a doctor will say, well, this is all I have to offer you. And that's not fair because what they mean is that they offer us 1, maybe 3, 4 options for that patient. And if you hear a doctor say, this is all I have to offer, it doesn't mean that that's all that there is for your condition. It means that that's all that doctor can provide you because that's where they are making their bread and butter. And that's what they've chose to focus on or believe in. And it's time to find another provider. And realizing that there is so many different options as a patient, it is part of your responsibilities to know, learn, understand what your condition is, and also what treatment options are available. And don't get talked into a treatment option or, following what your other friends are doing, or even your twin sibling is doing if they live with the same condition. It's something that as a patient, you have to be okay with. And one of the mistakes that I made in figuring out what was going to work best for me was I rushed into treatment options and I didn't ask what's going to happen down the line. If this helps me today, might it be detrimental tomorrow? For instance, my condition affects my small nerve fibers. So in humans, we have small and large nerve fibers, and conditions like diabetes fall under large nerve fiber neuropathy. My condition falls under small nerve fiber neuropathy. And I didn't know that ice was damaging my small nerve fibers, but so is my medical condition. And so those nerve fibers were dying more quickly. Every time I applied ice as a student athlete, I was taught to put ice on an injury, or if you have some swelling, to put ice on it. And with RSD, that's one of the no-nos. So really knowing and understanding your condition can help guide you as to what treatment options might be best for you, but also learning the long-term effects of any treatment option that you do take on, whether it be something prescribed or if you get involved in a clinical trial. It really does matter for your future what you choose to do now, and paying attention to that is something that I highly suggest. For instance, another example, I had a doctor saying that she was giving a particular medication to patients and that they were being cured. And, I knew enough to question at that point, well, what do you mean by cure? Because there is no known cure for this condition. And she was like, well, they never come back. And then I'm like, well, maybe they never come back because this is what you had to offer them, and they knew you had nothing else to offer, and it didn't work for them. Just because a patient doesn't come back doesn't mean you cured them. It just means that they went on to find other options. And so if you are a patient and a provider gives you a treatment and it does not help, it would be very helpful to go back and let that provider know, whether you go in person or you write a letter nicely to that provider, so that they have some feedback on the treatment options that they're offering, and they can get a sense of who it's helping and who it's not. That could be very important as well. So, but there's everything for my condition, there's devices that can be implanted into your body to help with nerve stimulation. There's medications, there's mindfulness, such as VR and meditation, virtual reality VR, which I love myself, but massage therapy, occupational therapy, chiropractics, cupping, tapping, there's music therapy, aromatherapy. There's so many different types of treatment options, and they all might not help cure you, because like I said, my conditions don't really have a cure, but they can help you manage and maintain and give you a better life expectancy and help you live more life on a daily basis. So it really is up to you to figure out and find out what will work best for you by doing the research and studying and knowing about your condition and the options that are available. And you can go to internationalpain.org, and we have over 150 conditions listed with some possible treatments that might be a place to start on our website under our conditions tab. So if you don't know where to start and want a more robust list for whatever condition that you may be living with, that's a really good place to start right there.
Well, since you already mentioned it, go ahead and tell us about your International Pain Foundation organization and why you decided to found it.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Yes, International Pain Foundation focuses on 4 areas: education, awareness, social events, and access to care. And our education programs are for patients, caregivers, and providers, medical providers. Our awareness is for the public, because oftentimes maybe we can plant a seed and that can grow into a tree of knowledge when the person needs it. So we're hoping to plant those seeds in the public, even though not all of the public might need the information at this time. One day they probably will. And social events, because a lot of times patients isolate themselves. We want them to be able to really live life more fulfilling. So we do a lot of social events for patients where we've rented out, before COVID, rented out movie theaters and done premieres and card games and Christmas projects where we exchange greeting cards and all kinds of projects that are social and get people active and participating with other people. And then access to care, which is everything from legislation to peer-to-peer mentoring to talking to people in the industry who are working on future treatment options, and then also working with medical advisors for different conditions that can help patients that are low income or underinsured find access to getting actual treatment with their medical providers, as well as providing we've done different types of patient grants over the years, everything from financial, which right now we don't have any financial grants available, but we also do some durable medical equipment, and patients will come and if they need like scooters, wheelchairs, or balance bars in their home, or one veteran that we worked with needed a heater for his house, a water heater for his house. So we've done a variety of things, and everybody has their own individual needs as to what they need. We kind of got started with the foundation based on my stepsister and myself. My family, every year at Thanksgiving, we would decide on a project to do between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And my stepsister had passed away in 2006, in July of 2006. And I had just been diagnosed the year before. And my brother said, let's do something to help patients that are in Melanie and Barbie's situation. And my dad said, well, that's more of a year-round project than a 1-month project, like feeding the homeless or doing Christmas caroling, or going to nursing homes and talking and being with elderly patients that don't have a lot of family around anymore. And he said, if we're going to do this, we really have to do it right. And that was Thanksgiving 2006. And by January 2007, we had started the nonprofit. And at first, that first year was just for people with RSD. And then after that, it was the next year went to anybody with a nerve pain condition. And then by 2012, it was anybody with chronic pain, whether it be physical, spiritual, or emotional, mental pain. And then by 2015, when we first started, we went with the name for our charity, Power of Pain Foundation, because pain made me and my family better people. Although pain definitely sucks. It definitely gave us different life skills and focuses that we didn't have prior to having a family member or being a family member living with a chronic pain condition. And so in 2015, we recognized that our board of directors had expanded past our family, and also our focus was more global than state oriented or federally, United States oriented. We had people from, at that time, about 14 different countries. I think we have 17 countries now. So we ended up reapplying and refocusing the foundation to International Pain Foundation, which helped us reach a more global audience and grow our network even bigger. So that's kind of the gist of how we got started and what we do. And you can find more information at internationalpain.org about the foundation and all the projects that we do.
Tell us about your book, what the readers can expect when they read it and where they can pick it up at.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually have 9 books, but my most recent book is called From Wheels to Heels. And it really was a book where I demonstrated that it's possible to find treatments. It has my story in it, but it also has tips, tricks, resources, and tools that patients can use on a daily basis to help themselves. And, they get a sense of my story, but I'm hoping that it will help them be creative in their own care and reaching out, knowing that it's okay to ask for help, to know that it's okay to say, this isn't working for me, there has to be some other way. Or if they've been doing the same treatment for the past 5 years, going and having a conversation with their medical team to say, hey, I've been doing this for 5 years. What else is new? What's come down the pipeline? What can I get? Is there anything else that could be helping me better? And it really focuses on my rare diseases and helping other people get through the challenges of the healthcare system from my perspective.
Tell us the pros and cons. The telehealthcare has really kicked off since the pandemic, but tell us the pros and cons of telehealthcare.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's a great question, too. So with healthcare, a lot of times it's very difficult to get in the car and use your energy pennies to go get the help that you need from your medical providers. And a lot of times patients, especially with pain, are required to go to their medical providers at least once a month, especially if they're providing medications for you. And when the pandemic hit, I've been using telehealth since 2015 and loving it. But when the pandemic hit, the rest of the world kind of caught up with me, or at least the United States. And laws started passing that insurance companies had to pay for telehealth, and giving patients the ability to have a medical appointment without exposing them to the germs that are in a medical facility, as well as spending all the energy to get to and from the appointment, especially if they have to have a caregiver. Like with me with epilepsy, I don't drive a lot. I need to have a caregiver with me to help drive me and get me to those appointments. And telehealth really changed that for me and millions of other patients. Whether you have a chronic condition or not, you can use telehealth and have a phone conversation or a video conversation with your healthcare provider to get the help and the care that you need in a more timely manner, but also with spending less energy so that you can get through that challenge that you're facing in a more timely manner. It really, not every state has passed telehealth. There has been some limited federal legislation, and then states are passing more complementary help with telemedicine. For instance, I live in Arizona, and Governor Ducey signed a law last year to bring telemedicine up to the same levels as going to see a medical provider in person, and that you can do that for mental health as well as physical health, and to have access to all that. Now, there is times when a telehealth appointment won't be appropriate for you. For instance, I had for part of valley fever, I started growing some tumors, and one of them was in the back of my throat. And I sent my doctor a picture using text messaging, and he said, call me and do a video chat. So I did that next. That's what telehealth is. And he said, this is something that could be a little more dangerous. So I need you to go see an ear, nose, and throat specialist, and I want you to go in person. And so I made an appointment to go in person. So sometimes they'll be able to do a telemedicine appointment and you can be seen faster. And then if it needs to get escalated, then you can go into the doctor's office to take that to the next level. And to have access to that was really beneficial and important for me, especially in the time of COVID. And right now it's flu season. So going into a medical facility can be dangerous for many people who have compromised immune systems like myself. I hope people do take advantage of using telehealth, telemedicine as much as possible, because that will help cut down on the spread of some of the acute conditions that we also get on top of our chronic pain.
Do you have any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about?
Sure. Well, recently, I'll tell you about one we just finished, was our November project, where we raised awareness during the month of November about nerve pain conditions specifically. And this past November, we shattered records with 60 million impressions on our social media. So very, very exciting month. And the next best year was like 2015 with 47 million interactions. So definitely very proud of that. But coming up, we are working on some legislation to get access to medications. Here in Arizona, we're working with Senator Nancy Bardo in her office to get some legislation passed to give some rights to chronic pain patients during this opioid crisis that's going on, and with the addiction patients, and to make sure that even though chronic pain patients also need to take opiates, that they won't be held away from them when they're trying to work on the opioid epidemic for those who have addiction challenges. And I'm also going to be participating in the Rare Disease Week out in Washington, D.C. in February 2022. Once again, working on the International Pain Summit for 2022, as well as we spend the whole next year getting ready for November 2022. And then we also focus on each specific condition. It has its own awareness month. So we have some projects coming up in the next coming months to work on specific disease awareness for different challenges and issues, as well as a project for seniors living with chronic illnesses. So quite a lot coming up.
Sounds like it. Well, how can people stay connected with you so we can keep up with the projects? Give out that website again, the social media links, so people can know what's going on with you guys.
Oh, thank you. So for International Pain Foundation, it's really easy. Internationalpain.org has all of our information on our website about what we do and who to contact for each different project, as well as all of our social medias are available directly from our homepage at the top right of the page. And then for me personally, you can go to my website, as Curtis said at the beginning. Barby Ingle is my name, and that's my website, barbyingle.com. And you can also connect to me personally through my social medias, and those are also available on my homepage at the top right, that you can just click through to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and also read our blogs. And we also have the International Pain Foundation's official magazine, iPain Living Magazine, available at ipainliving.org, and you can check that out as well.
Give us some final thoughts to close it out. Anything that you would wanted to discuss that I missed, just close us out with some final thoughts.
I have two final thoughts. First is, everybody that's listening right now, give Curtis some props. Living the Dream podcast needs your 5-star ratings. Let him know how awesome he is and what a great job he's doing by giving him a 5-star rating, and leave a comment if you'd like as well. But at the minimum, give him a 5-star rating, because we all know he's 5 stars. And the second thing is, remember that there is great reason for hope, because there is help. And all you have to do is reach out and seek it.
Well, you definitely have 5 stars as well with the healthcare topic. And I've learned a lot, and I hope my listeners learn a lot. And I also hope the listeners will follow, rate, review, and share this to others, as many people as possible, so they can learn a lot. And Android listeners, go download the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app from the Google Play Store. And Barby, I would like to take this time to thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'm so happy that you let me be a part of your podcast and share my story of living the dream.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.